Shkoch, everybody, for coming. It's amazing that people are willing, that you guys are willing to give up, not even to give up, but to realize that you're not giving up of your lunch to come here and learn Daf Hashavua during lunch. So let's start right away with Megillah. We need a little bit of an introduction before we read the Mishnah. The introduction is as follows. We know that Haman wanted to kill the Jews on the 13th. He got the okay, and he did a pour that he was going to kill the Jews on the 13th of Adar. V'nahapachu, what happened? That Esther got permission from Achashverosh that instead the Jews rose up and they fought against their enemies. And on the 13th, we fought against our enemies. We beat them. And we rested and celebrated on the 14th. We rested. We fought the war on the 13th, but we rested on the 14th. Therefore, Chazal made that the Yontif of Purim for most people is on what day? The 14th, the day that we rested. Shushan didn't only fight on the 13th of Adar, they also fought on the 14th. Esther asked permission that even though Shushan Abira fought on the 13th, but Shushan itself was outside of Shushan Abira, she needed more time to kill out another 300 men. Shushan fought also on the 14th, and they only rested what day? On the 15th. So therefore, Shushan celebrated and continued to celebrate Purim on what day? The 15th. So we have most of the world celebrating on the 14th, and Shushan celebrating on the 15th. We'll see that Chazal instituted that any walled cities during the times of Yeshua ben Nun will also read on the 15th. Shushan was a walled city, and we're going to learn Gzer Shava in the Gemara that teaches us that all walled cities from the times of Yeshua ben Nun read on the 15th. Why Yeshua ben Nun? We're going to speak about that on Amud Beis. Okay? So we have the 14th, the 15th, and one other point that you need to know is that Chazal, the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, also instituted that Kfarim, the people that lived in the villagers we'll call them, so they used to supply food and drink to the people in the big cities. They were the guys, they were the hard workers that set up and supported, gave the people food, sold people food. Okay? Now the villagers who lived outside of the big cities, they should have read on what day? And they do. They should be reading on the 14th. That's really the right day. Okay? But because they didn't know how to read the Megillah, they were ignorant. They didn't know how to read the Megillah, and they used to have to enter into the big cities to hear the Megillah. Now, Chazal were very interested, the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah were very interested in making sure that the villagers were available to the big cities. Why do they want them to be available? Because Chazal, the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, wanted the villagers to be able to give food to the big cities for the Purim Suda, for Shalach Manis, for the Purim Suda. So it was very important to the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah that the villagers be available to give food to the big cities. Okay? The thing is that if they would be busy on Purim listening to the what? To the Megillah in the big cities, because they didn't know how to read, we were nervous that they wouldn't have the time to offer, to take a Gemara, is there another Gemara? That they wouldn't have the time to be able to serve the big cities the food, and people wouldn't have the appropriate food. So Chazal instituted that the villagers would be allowed sometimes to read the Megillah instead of the 14th and the 15th, to read the Megillah on which day? The 11th, 12th, or the 13th. And the Mishnah is going to do the math for you exactly how that's going to work out. So again, the villagers are going to read on the 11th. They should be reading on the 14th. There are going to be some years that they're going to have to read on the 11th, 12th, and the 13th in order to be available. One other point, and that is that the villagers used to enter the big cities on Mondays and Thursdays because Ezra was Misakein, the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. Really, that was after, but it had started before, during the times of Esther, that the courts were open on what days? Who knows when the courts were open? They were open on Monday and Thursday. So since the courts were open on Monday and Thursday, that means the villagers were already going into the big cities on what day? On Monday and Thursday. So therefore, when Chazal were trying to figure out what would be a good earlier day for the villagers to hear the Megillah, what would that day be? Either Monday or Thursday. So they tried to work it out that the day that the villagers would hear the Megillah early would be Monday or Thursday. So therefore, when Purim falls out on Monday and Thursday, the villagers are going into the big cities anyway. They're going to hear the Megillah, and they're going to hear on the proper day on the 14th. But when the 14th falls out on Tuesday, the villagers would be able to pull back one day to Monday and hear it on what day? On the 13th. If it comes out on Wednesday, the villagers would go back 2 days. They're anyway in on Monday. They would read it on the 12th. If it 14th comes out on Sunday, when would the villagers be? When was the time before that they were going to be in the big cities? On Thursday, that's what day? The 11th. So the Mishnah is going to speak that out. Let's see the Mishnah. Megillah nikras b'yud aleph b'yud beis b'yud gimel b'yud daled b'tesvav. Megillah is read sometimes on 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Lo pachus v'lo yoser. Not before. Pachus means less. V'lo yoser, not more. The Yerushalmi holds that there's other times you can read it, so our Mishnah wants to say that you can't. The cities that were Mukaf and Choma. What's Mukaf and Choma? They were surrounded by a wall. Miyamos Yeshua ben Nun, from the times of who? From the times of Yeshua ben Nun. Korin, when do they read? B'Tesvav. They read on the 15th. Kfarim, villages, Vayaris Gedolos, and the big cities that were unwalled. Korin b'Yudal. They read on Yudal like we explained. Ella, but Shakfarim Makdimin Liyom Aknisa. Sometimes the villagers that lived in the villages, Makdimin, they would advance the date, Liyom Aknisa, to the day that they would anyway enter where? The big cities, and they would read on an earlier date. Ketzad. How is this? And the Mishnah is going to do the math that we just did. Ketzad. Chalios Yudalid B'Sheni. If let's say Yudalid came out on Monday, then everything stays the same way. Kfarim, the villages, Vayaris Gedolos, the big cities, Korim Bayom, they read on that day. The walled cities who read on what day? On the 15th, will read Lamachar the next day. What day of the week? Tuesday. Chalios B'Shlishi, if the 14th comes out on Tuesday or Revi or Wednesday, so then like we said, Kfarim Makdin Liyom Maknisa. The villagers will advance to the Monday before, to the day when they enter the city, the big cities, which will be either the 12th or the 13th. By Yaros Gedolos, and the big unwalled cities, Korim Bo Bayom, they're still going to read on Tuesday, Wednesday. Why? Why would the big cities still read on Tuesday, Wednesday? Because they had about Koreh, and they were as is. And the walled cities will read the next morning. On what day? On the 15th. Chalios B'Chamishi, if let's say Purim, the Yudalid falls out on Thursday, everything stays the same. Kfarim Yaros Gedolos, Korim Bo Bayom. The villages and the wall and the cities that were unwalled read on Thursday, and the walled cities read the next day. Now it gets a little interesting. Chalios Erev Shabbos. Let's say the 14th falls out on Erev Shabbos. So Kfarim, the villages read when? When do the villages read? It falls out on Erev Shabbos. They'll read on Thursday. Excellent. Makdin Liyom Maknisa. They'll read on the 13th. Vayaris Gedolos, the big cities are going to read when? That day on Friday. Why not? Why are the Mukafas Choma, the walled cities, going to read on Friday if the 14th falls out on Friday? Because when could you not read the Megillah? You're never allowed to read the Megillah on Shabbos, because we were concerned that if you had a Megillah and you were going to read on Shabbos, you might take it to a Baki, someone that knows how to read, and you might ask them how to read, and you might end up carrying on Shabbos Dalid Amos, which is an Isser Doraisa. And since we were nervous about that, so we instituted that you can never read a Megillah on Shabbos. Where else do we have such a thing? By shofar. We don't blow the shofar on Shabbos. That's even more, because shofar, Megillah is by Dan Shekinah Gadola. So, but it was the same type of idea. So if it comes out on Erev Shabbos, the walled cities read the same time as what? As the what? As the villages that have, as the open cities. Now, question. Why did we pull back the walled cities to read on Friday, on the 14th? Why don't we say that they should read on Sunday, on the 16th? So you know who asked that kasha? Rashi asked the kasha. And Rashi says the reason is because Megillah says, V'lo yavar. that these are the dates, v'lo yavar. You can't pass over it. You can't go past the appropriate dates. So you can never go past the 15th. That's where we pulled them back a day. Last case in the Mishnah. Chalios Acher Shabbos. Do we skip a case? Chalios b'Shabbos. Let's say the 14th fell out on Shabbos. Kfarim v'ayoris gedolos makdimim v'koron liyom maknisa. The Kfarim and the cities go back to Thursday. Umukavatz chom alamachar. And the walled cities will read when? On Sunday on the 15th. Who has a question on that? Again, when it falls out on Shabbos, the Kfarim, the villages, read when? On Thursday. They there should. The Mukavatz chom of the walled cities read on Sunday. And the big cities, the Mishnah says, read when? When would you think they read if the 14th falls out on Shabbos? When would you think they should read? They should read on Friday. So why does the Mishnah say they read on Thursday? So the answer is because once we have the villages reading on Thursday and we're backing up the big cities and there's no one else reading on Friday, we said they should also read when? On Friday. Okay? In the other case, when the 14th fell out on Erev Shabbos. So there the walled cities read on Friday with the cities. So there were other people reading on Friday, but here there isn't. So we pull them back 2 days. Last case, Chalios Acher Shabbos. Let's say fell out on 14th, fell out on Sunday. Kfarim Makdim Liyom Aknisa. The villages read on the day when you enter the cities. Vayoris Gedolos Korom Bavayom. And the big cities read that day. Mokovas Chom Lamachar. And the walled cities read the next day. Let's start the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Megillah Nekras B'Yid Aleph Minolan. Where do we have a straight out pasuk that the Megillah is read on Yud Aleph? We have a pasuk that we read what day? 14 to 15. But what about Yud Aleph? Says the Gemara, slow down. Hold on. Minolan. You're asking me for a pasuk? Of course there's no pasuk. You don't have to, you just look in the Megillah. There's no pasuk that you read on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And why do you read Kedabino Leila? Come on. You might not know, but there's a brisa later on. They didn't have to know every brisa. Chachamim ekilu al kfarim. The Chachamim were lenient on the kfarim. Lios makdim liyom aknisa. To advance the day, so that they be allowed to give food to their brothers in the big cities. This is the question we were really asking. We weren't asking Minolan, where do we have a pasuk straight out? And that we understood. But what we were asking was as follows. Michti, let's see. Kulu Anshi Knesset Agdola Teknidu. The Anshi Knesset Agdola, who made the Megillah along with that Mordechai and Esther, they must have also instituted not only the 14th and the 15th, but they were the Rabbana that instituted 11, 12, 13th. It wasn't a later Rabbana. Who knows why it couldn't have been a later Rabbana? Says the Gemara, if they only set up Yudalit and Tesvav 14 and 15, no later Rabbanan could uproot that, could say we could also read on the 11th, 12th, and the 13th. No other Rabbanan could uproot that. But Tanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, no later Bezdin could uproot something a previous Bezdin did, unless they're bigger in wisdom and in number. So therefore it's obvious that the Anshe Knesset Gadol did not only institute 14 and 15, they also instituted 11, 12, and 13. But if they were the ones that wrote the Megillah and they instituted 11, 12, and 13, wouldn't you think that what would they have done in the Megillah? Even if they didn't write it straight out, they would have at least put a what? A remiz, a remez, a hint in the psukim. So that's our question. When we say minalan, we didn't mean a straight out pasuk. We meant heicha remiza. Go ahead.